Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a stack of sources that cover 1 Kings chapters 2 and 3. We're moving out of the really turbulent end of King David's life and right into the high-stakes political game of his son, Solomon, trying to consolidate power. This isn't just a simple succession. I mean, this is a brutal but necessary clearing of old political debts.
That's absolutely right. We start with David, who's, nearly 70. The sources say he's stricken in years. This is a man who lived an incredibly hard life, and now he's so frail he can't even stay warm.
Right, they bring in Abishag, the Shunammite, just to provide body heat. But the text is very clear there were no intimate relations there.
Exactly. And the whole kingdom is shaky. It's just been rocked by that failed coup from David's fourth son, Adonijah.
And that context is so key. Adonijah was technically the next in line after his older brothers died. But one of the patterns we see over and over is God choosing outside the expected line. Isaac over Ishmael, Jacob over Esau.
And now Solomon over Adonijah.
Exactly. So Solomon inherits this throne that's divinely appointed, but it is incredibly unstable politically.
Precisely. He wasn't just handed a crown. He was handed a fragile state that was just riddled with these deep-seated threats that his father David, he couldn't or wouldn't deal with them.
So Solomon's first job is basically to secure the throne or everything just crumbles.
That's it. So David, knowing he's going the way of all the earth...
I love that phrase. Such a profound way of saying everyone dies.
It is. He gives Solomon this final three-part charge, and he starts, surprisingly, not with a hit list, but with character.
He says, "Be strong, therefore, and prove yourself a man." What does that even mean here? Because David and Solomon are so different.
They are. I mean, David was the archetype. A shepherd, a giant slayer, killed a lion with his bare hands. Solomon, he was raised in the palace and the harem. A silver spoon kid.
So this isn't about toxic masculinity or some shallow rite of passage.
Not at all. It's defined entirely by integrity. It's about keeping the charge of the Lord, walking in his ways, following the whole Mosaic law. That takes real courage.
Moral courage.
Yeah.
Which is way harder than physical strength.
Much harder. It takes bravery to stand against the culture, against political pressure, just to do the right thing, especially when you're the king.
Okay, so after character, David immediately pivots to political house cleaning. And the first name on the list is explosive.
Joab.
Joab, his own commander. David acknowledges his loyalty in the past, but he demands justice for his treachery. Not just for joining Adonijah's coup, but for killing innocent men in peacetime.
He mentions Abner and Amasa.
Yes, and David tells Solomon, do not let his gray hair go down to the grave in peace. You have to ask, why couldn't David handle this himself earlier?
And the reason is just. It's so dark.
It is. Joab was David's accomplice in murdering Uriah the Hittite. He knew the king's deepest, most dangerous secret.
So David's own sin gave Joab political immunity.
Wow.
It's a perfect example of how a leader's personal failings can infect the entire state. David is basically outsourcing the cleanup of his own sins to his son.
And Solomon has to be the one to restore the moral authority of the throne.
Exactly. The second name on the list is Shimei, son of Joab.
The guy who cursed David and threw rocks at him when he was fleeing from Absalom. Just a nasty piece of work.
Total opportunist. And David had sworn an oath at the time not to kill him.
But he tells Solomon, basically, that oath was mine, not yours. Don't hold him guiltless.
Bring his gray hair down to the grave with blood. So Joab represented internal betrayal, and Shimei represented this naked disloyalty to the crown itself. Both debts had to be paid.
But then David balances all this brutality with a command for kindness.
He does. He tells Solomon to show kindness to the sons of Barzillai the Gileadite.
Because they helped him when he was on the run from Absalom.
They did. They provided food and shelter. And David says they should always eat at the king's table. It shows that justice and loyalty are two sides of the same coin for him.
And with that, David dies. He reigned for 40 years. Solomon is on the throne, but the real test is just beginning.
And it comes instantly from Adonijah.
The would-be usurper, he goes to Solomon's mother, Bathsheba, with this really pious-sounding speech.
Right. He says, the kingdom went to Solomon because it was God's will. He sounds like he's accepted it.
But then comes the real request. He asks Bathsheba to ask Solomon to give him Abishag, David's caregiver, as his wife.
And Solomon sees straight through it.
Why was that such a loaded request? She was just a ceremonial wife, right?
But that's the point. Control of the former king's harem, even a ceremonial part of it, was a recognized political move to claim succession rights.
Like Absalom did.
Exactly. Adonijah wasn't asking for a wife. He was making a renewed symbolic claim on the throne. He was testing Solomon.
And Solomon's reaction is fierce and immediate.
He says, ask for him the kingdom also. He immediately links him to the other conspirators, Joab and Abiathar, and swears Adonijah will die that day.
And he sends Benaiah, the guy known for killing a lion in a pit on a snowy day, to carry out the execution. No hesitation.
None. The usurper is gone. Next, Solomon deals with the priest, Abiathar. He spares his life because he'd carried the ark and suffered alongside David.
Well, he's out.
He's out. Removed from the priesthood, sent home to his farm in Anathoth. And this is huge because it fulfills that ancient prophecy against the house of Eli.
So that corrupt priestly line is now officially removed from power in Jerusalem.
Yes. And Zadok, who was loyal, becomes the sole high priest. Solomon is cleaning house, politically and spiritually.
Then comes Joab. He hears the news, panics, and runs to the tabernacle.
And grabs hold of the horns of the altar, the ancient place of sanctuary.
But that doesn't work for him, does it?
It does not. Solomon is faced with a choice. Does religious sanctuary override state justice for a murderer? He decides it doesn't. He orders Benaiah to kill Joab right there at the altar.
Symbolically removing the blood guilt from the royal house. He's showing he won't be compromised like his father was.
And Benaiah is immediately promoted to commander of the army.
So the final loose end is Shimei.
Right. Solomon puts him under house arrest in Jerusalem. The rule is simple. If you cross the Kidron Valley, you die. Shimei agrees. He even calls the command awesome.
And for 3 years he sticks to it.
He does. But then 2 of his slaves run away to Gath, about 30 miles away. And Shimei decides that getting his property back is worth breaking his oath to the king.
Such a casual, foolish act of disobedience. And it costs him everything.
Solomon confronts him and says, essentially, your own heart knows the evil you did to my father. Now it's coming back on your own head. Shimei is killed.
And the sources say the kingdom was established in the hand of Solomon. The house cleaning is finally done.
And only now, with the throne secure, does he begin to govern in earnest. His first big move is a political marriage. He marries Pharaoh's daughter to seal a treaty with Egypt.
Which is fascinating because, technically it obeyed the letter of the law. She wasn't a Canaanite.
But it completely violated the spiritual principle. And as we know from later in the story, these foreign wives are the very thing that turns his heart away from the Lord. It's political pragmatism over spiritual fidelity.
And that leads right into the next compromise. The text says Solomon loved the Lord, except he sacrificed at the high places.
That little word, except.
So what was the big deal with the high places?
It was the local Canaanite way of worship, the idea that you had to climb a hill to get closer to your gods. But this was a direct violation of the law of the central sanctuary in Deuteronomy.
Which said
To destroy all the high places and worship God only in the one place he chose, which was Jerusalem.
So it's not just mixing pagan practices with true worship. It's also undermining the national identity by decentralizing worship away from Jerusalem.
That's it. It's the high place in our own lives, the one area where we let convenience or culture override what we know is right.
And it's at Gibeon, the great high place, that Solomon makes this incredible offering, 1,000 burnt offerings.
It is, and it's in that moment of sincere, though imperfect devotion, that the Lord appears to him in a dream, and he offers him the ultimate blank check. Ask, what shall I give you?
I mean, think about that. Most of us would ask for wealth, or long life, or success. But Solomon, who has just inherited this massive, fragile kingdom, he feels the weight of it.
He does. He says, I am a little child. I do not know how to go out or how to come in. He understands that he is not enough for the task ahead.
And he makes the one choice that pleases God so much.
He doesn't ask for personal gain. He asks for an understanding, heart-functional wisdom to judge the people and to discern between good and evil.
He already had the power. He was already the king. What he wanted was the wisdom to use that power correctly.
That's the takeaway, the hierarchy of values. Solomon put righteous governance and functional wisdom above everything else, and that choice, right there, set the stage for the golden age of his reign.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. If you were given that divine blank check today, what would you ask for? And what does your answer say about the high places, those areas of compromise, you might still be relying on in your own life.